Hello, everyone. This is Scott Roberts and Jerry Hubble joining you, and this is the OpenGOTO Community Live. This is episode 35, and we got a great show for you today. First up will be Jerry Hubble. He'll be talking about the new ASCOM 6.5 version and its installation, its upgraded features, things to look out for when you install it, that kind of thing. We also have Gary Palmer on with us this evening, and he will be talking about SharpCap and how to polar align using SharpCap. We determined that SharpCap is one of the more popular ways to polar align telescopes today, and so we wanted to give you a tutorial and some advice so that you can use that really great tool. And then Richard Grace will be joining us tonight. He emailed me after we talked about having a virtual star party, and he wanted to volunteer. So we're going to discuss some of that and some of the conversation that we had earlier about strategy of conducting such an event. So why don't we go ahead and get started, Jerry?
Okay, yeah. So recently, ASCOM, the ASCOM Standards Organization, released their new 6.5 version of the platform, and it had been out in beta for a while. Actually, I think in March or April, I had loaded the first release candidate of the system, and I didn't have many problems, but other people had reported problems in our forum with the beta version of the program. So I wanted to go ahead and walk through some things with the release version that I installed today on my local machine. I'd been running a release candidate at our observatory for a while, but since we have the official release now, I wanted to go ahead and talk about that and some of the things you want to look for or might consider before you load it up. You can always go back to a previous version. That's not a problem if you do run into issues.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go ahead and share my desktop. Am I already on there? I think I'm already shared. Is that right?
You are shared? Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay, so here's the message I sent out today on the forum, on the main group, announcing the availability of ASCOM Platform 6.5. And so what you'll do is you'll go to the main page, which is the ascomstandards.org. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit so you can see it a little better. Is that better? So over here on the right-hand side, you'll see the download button, and then there's a couple of release notes. We'll look at these release notes in a minute, but basically it's just like always. You'll go here and you'll go to the download page, and it'll immediately download it. This is a link directly to the executable to install. And remember, ASCOM is a Windows platform, but they also includes the new Alpaca cross-platform environment to be able to run ASCOM over the internet, which it uses the REST APIs to do cross-platform connections across, Apple and Linux and Mac OS. I don't know if there's an Alpaca interface for iPhones yet, but it's available to run ASCOM across platforms and across the network, basically. I have not yet gotten into that with our driver and the server version. We're also working on the server version of our ASCOM driver, just to let you know as a side note. But anyway, so you'll download that and install it. And then one thing that you might want to do first before you do that, or after you do that, is to look at the release notes. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to enlarge this some also. So there are a few things. I suggest that you go ahead and read all this, mainly for the users, for everyone. You don't necessarily have to read about the developer stuff, which is nice for me to know, of course. But there's a couple of key things I want to point out about this. One of the things down here in retired components, they've actually retired the path, but you can still install it. You just have to select it when you do the install. There's a checkbox that comes up when you install it. And I probably ought to let me go ahead and start the install. I'll cancel out of it, and then you can see exactly what it looks like there. So let me go back. Let's see, where am I at here? So I'm going to hit download, and you can see it down here at the bottom. It's downloading the platform, and it'll come up if your security comes up. It says, do you really want to run this? And I say yes, I want to keep that. And then I want to keep it anyway. Okay. And then I can go to the downloads directory. I don't know why this doesn't come up with my downloads. So I want to run it, show in the folder. So I'm going to run it. And again, it comes up and warns you. They don't sign it with a certificate. That's why it comes up and warns you like that. So I'm going to say yes. So now it comes up, and this is what it looks like when it starts to load. And so hopefully it'll finish up pretty quick here. Yep, there it goes. So now I want to go ahead and select modify because it already knows I've got it installed. So I'm going to hit next. So this is where you select the components, and this is where when you first do it, it comes up like this. Okay, I'm going to check these. All these, the POT, the dome control hub, and the regular hub comes up. This is the way it looks when you first install it.
So you can just select it there, and it will bring...
Yeah, so you'll just sit there. It will be installed on local hard drive. So you just go to this pull down for each of these items, and you don't have to do all these, but that's what you could do. You can turn it on, but the default is that it does not install the POT.
And why is that, Jerry? Why do you think they started?
It's because it's old, and they want people to move on. They also, the other reason is they've had another device or another thing that does the same thing as the POT, which uses the upgraded code and the upgraded platform more effectively. It's called the device hub. So I'm gonna get out of this, and I'll quickly show you what the device hub looks like. So I'll go to my ASCOM.
So the device hub, is that like a server or something? Or?
It's just like the POT. It's a hub.
Okay.
And this is what it looks like. It's kind of interesting to look. It's a new layout.
New POT.
It's a new POT, right? Exactly. It does exactly the same thing. It's got some extra features. It's got some extra displays. But you can see it's still got, the buttons are smaller, and it's a little bit different format. It's a cleaner format. It's it's upgraded. It's a new version of the POT basically. So I would suggest people give that a try instead of the POT. And you would set it up exactly the same way. So right now I've got it set to set to the scope, the simulator. Let's see, I want to go to setup. So if you go to setup, you see where I pulled that under tools. Let me go back. So you go to tools.
Okay.
Setup.
Yep.
And then it comes up, and you have the chooser, just like we had before. You choose what you want, and then you go to PMC-Eight.
Okay.
Hit properties. Oh, I think I've connected to something else here. I think that's why it's not working. Yeah, I think I've got the other. Cancel. I think I've got the POT hub running. Let me stop this real quick and see. My dog's there in the background. My
think it's
somebody's
a
coming in
sound
the house.
effect. I don't believe it's a
That's
real
right.
bug.
I don't want that. Where's my I'll have to look at that error message and see. I don't want to spend time trying to troubleshoot it right now. But so you'll start up the device hub, and it works exactly like the POTH in that regard. But let's get back to the ASCOM driver, or the ASCOM platform. It's important to understand that you can still run the POTH. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the other things you want to do, once you've loaded it, you want to go to I don't know if you can see this. On the ASCOM platform, there's a thing called ASCOM Diagnostics. Okay. That you'll want to run to verify that the platform is loaded correctly.
Oh, I see.
That's
nice.
Some people have run into problems when they try to run our driver. It doesn't connect for some reason, and this will help you make sure that the platform installed correctly. And you just hit run, and it'll start going through. It takes about 5 minutes for this to run, so I'm gonna just let that go for now, and see what's going on. The next thing is to get that. Make sure you run that. And I tested this earlier with my. There's another tool that I use as a developer. It's called the conformance checker. So it runs the driver, all the functions and features of the driver. It runs it and tests it. It takes like 10 minutes to run that. Let me see if I can bring that up here. This is small text,
Okay.
so this will be hard to see. But what this does, this goes through a whole series of tests, and tests a lot of different things, all the different features and functions in the driver, and then it comes down.
We'll have a show where we go through it line by line.
Yeah, that would be real thrilling.
Yeah, that would be a good show. We'll run that show for all the people that want to go to have trouble sleeping. So.
Right, exactly. So I just wanted to talk about this for a second because I wanted to ensure everybody that I did run our existing driver through this process on the new platform to make sure it passed all the tests like before, and it does. There are a couple of new tests that they added to the conformance tester since the last time I worked on it, which it's just a little tweaks, but other than that, everything works fine. So our existing driver, I just want to make the point that our existing driver that's on our website works with the new platform. So there's no problem with that.
All right.
Is there any questions out there? Who's on with us?
Let's recognize some of the people that are out there. We got, of course, Angela Puri's here with us. Michael Whitaker, good evening from the UK. James, the astrophotographer's on. Tim Myers is on. Dusty Haskins is on. Everyone says hello. Cohen says, receive the Galileo scope I won today. Thanks, guys. It's a fun thing to play around with. Wolfgang says, fine. I just had a discussion with my friends from the observatory. Okay, great. Bergman Scooter says hello.
I think you got focus still on me. I stopped sharing. You can put your face up on the screen.
Oh, can I? Okay. Okay.
I'm just sitting here drinking water and stuff while you're talking.
That's right. You should have like it in slow motion where you're drinking in slow.
Right.
Anyways, we have And Ash, actually, one of the guys that's on the show is on here. Okay, Astro Beard. He's going to be on the show with us in a few minutes. Um, let's see. Where can I get a list of devices that can run ASCOM Alpaca? That's from Dilip Sharon on YouTube.
Um, it's probably on the Alpaca site. Let me, I can show that real quick. Let me share my
Okay.
desktop again. Where the heck is it? Come on. Start sharing again. So let me go back here, and over on the right-hand side, the left-hand side is the ASCOM Alpaca thing.
Okay.
All right, so this page talks all about it and how it works, and I'm assuming that, let's see,
ASCOM FAQ for Alpaca.
maybe the FAQ may have some. There's Bob Denny.
Yep.
He's was heavily involved with this.
Oh yeah.
This has been around for a couple years now. So I don't know. Frequently asked questions. You might have to. I kind of get support. So you're looking for what platforms, right? What platforms this runs on?
Yeah, that was the question.
I think it runs on pretty much everything because it's based on the HTTP protocol. It's a web server protocol. So anything that has a web interface should probably be able to run it. I haven't looked into this lately, so I'm not sure exactly where in this. It may be in here in the FAQ, but I don't see it right this second.
Looks like
you would think they would have a link. You see anything on there that says?
Does Alpaca have a forum like we do?
I don't. It may be under the ASCOM. There's an ASCOM forum.
Yeah.
And
a question that we'll have to ask later.
Oh, here's the thing. It says cross-platform and net introduction to Alpaca. Let's see what that says here.
Okay.
I guess that's this cross-platform.
But it does say it's independent of Windows. Nowhere in the Alpaca ecosystem is Windows or COM needed.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So I think it will run on. Oh, here it is right here. This diagram says Mac OS, Linux.
SoC.
That's a system on chip. I think that if you have a embedded computer system that runs a stack, an internet stack, you can write code, or it may have a web server also. These little microcontrollers now come. You can install web servers on them, and it may be able to interoperate with that. So that'd be kind of cool. So it basically runs the REST API over. Let's see what this is. I just clicked on that Alpaca device API. So yeah, I would suggest people that have questions about it to go out and look at that web page on the ASCOM platform and ascomstandards.org website.
Yep. Charles Lewis says he installed ASCOM several days ago for the first time, already upgraded to 6.5, and it's working well.
That's good to hear.
Yep.
That's good to hear.
Yep. We have a nice international group watching tonight, UK, Germany, here, there, everywhere. It's nice.
Oh, good.
Cool.
I just stopped sharing my screen.
Okay. All right.
I think I did.
Yeah. And we're peeking inside of Richard's lair here. So
yeah, his cave.
His man cave. That's right. So well, that's great. So we're going to move along here, but before we do, or while we're talking to Gary, Jerry, do you already have a question for today's question
Oh,
of the day where
no, we talked
winner,
about giving away. You're going to
yeah,
give away my book. That's
that's
great. I
right,
appreciate that.
remote
That's awesome.
observatories for the amateur astronomer. And that's going to kind
Uh,
of lead into what what Richard Grace and I are going to talk about. So,
cool.
um,
I, I haven't looked on the forum to see what a question. Typically, we try to go to the forum and get a question. So, at what? Let me do this. What
okay,
time? What time did I post the message announcing the ASCOM driver the ASCOM platform update? What time and what day was it?
which one?
The
This,
first message I put out, that
about
message, right?
6.5, right?
Right, about 6.5. What was the time?
Okay, okay. All right. So, all right, we'll move on to Gary Palmer, who's been waiting in the wings here. Um, uh, he is SharpCap's guru. Even if you go on their website, you'll see that Gary Palmer is the recommended guy to go to for classes on how to use SharpCap. And in an earlier show that we have, we talked about more popular ways of, or maybe the most popular ways to polar align your telescope today. And the two that kind of came up at the top were SharpCap and the PoleMaster. And it seems that with SharpCap, perhaps you don't need a PoleMaster. Is that right, Gary?
Hi, Scott. Hi, Jerry. Yes, it is. It's one of the easiest things to use because you're going to use the equipment that you've currently got mounted. So it also makes it very cheap in that sense, and it is very accurate. There's very few problems with the system. I think the only problems that I've come across is maybe a camera having a too wide a field of view. That could be an issue. So one of the ways around that is to actually use the resolution area of the camera and close down the resolution area. So if it seems like it's got too wide a field of view, we can use the resolution. So maybe the camera's imaging at 4096, we could halve that. We could bring that down to 2000 and that would help. There's mixed discussions on whether to use guide scope and the guide camera to align it, or to whether to use your main imaging camera on the main telescope when you set up. And I personally use the main imaging camera. I find it's slightly more accurate. There's less problems if the guide scope is not correctly or not aligned. And in general, it's quite easy to get your main telescope pointed at Polaris, at the North Star, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, towards your southern alignment points. And using the main camera, I've just found that it works a lot more simple. What I do is I run into the screen share on it. What I've done is I've just set up a basic deep sky camera to show the interface on SharpCap. Let me go over to share the screen first. There we go. Okay. So if we go to the main SharpCap page, the camera is all connected. I've set the camera up. Now we don't have to run this in the full raw mode or high bit rate for the camera. We can keep it in the lower bit rate just to do this, and it will speed things up. Certainly on some cameras, the download times can be quite long, so just keeping it in the raw rate. The main thing is when you go back over to your imaging is to make sure that you switch it back again, otherwise your images are not going to calibrate correctly. So we can keep that set there. Set the exposures to roughly around 4 seconds, and if we go into the file and SharpCap settings, if we go to polar alignment, what we really need to do is set in our location data, and this is going to help us or help the software when it plate solves the image. You don't have to do this, but it does help it. So that's one of the main things. Now, obviously, where we've not got the camera pointed at the night sky and got stars showing, it's telling me that it can't detect any stars at the moment. But it goes through a few different processes. So if we shut this down for a second, what I'm going to do is bring up their website. There we go. Okay. So the processes are, once you've put in all of your location, it starts taking an image and it will work out where the stars are around your polar axis, where you're going to align from. And you want your telescope pointing straight up towards the North Star, that area. Once you go through each step, it tells you whether you want to continue into the next area. So once we move on, so you get these two lines here, and then we're going to move on. So it's started to take everything in. So it's got its first capture image here, and as we're running down, yeah, it's going to tell us to press the next button. Now once we press this, we now need to rotate the mount, and you can either do this using the motor, or it's just as easy to release the clutch on the RA, and we're going to point the telescope at 90 degrees. So really, so the whole of the top of the mount is dead flat. I generally do it to the west direction when setting this up. And then what it will do is it will start to work out where the stars are. And the yellow stars are the stars that it's aligning on.
Hey, Gary, I got a quick question, if you don't mind me breaking into it. So, and this might take a little bit of discussion. You might want to put off the question, but how does cone error how does that affect this system? I know you can probably give a short answer and then a longer answer.
Yeah, I think really the issue is with this is the more and more you do it, the more and more you're going to see where the errors are. And I suppose this depends on whether you're setting up each night of the week outside, or whether you've got a permanent setup on a pier in an observatory. If you did this a couple of times in the observatory with it fully set up, then you're probably going to see anything like cone error in there over the course of a few nights of imaging and a few nights of running this program. But I think really at the end of the day, a lot of people go to be too precise on the polar alignment for the amount of time that they're imaging.
Right.
An average imaging session's probably, let's say, 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that for most people. Some people will go longer than 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever. Then we need to be more precise. But for that shorter imaging run and the more quick setup, I don't think the cone error is really going to come into it. This is the key.
We've talked about that type of thing where you manage your error terms, where you don't get too precise on one area and forget about another area where it doesn't matter. You can balance those terms and then not pay much attention. So I think what you're saying is that basically don't fret over the cone error so much unless you're going to really be doing long sessions.
Yeah, this is the thing, and I think then you might look into other things that you might want to do, like the program you ran the other night on maybe making adjustments to the mount and things like that. But for the general out the door and setting it up, this is probably one of the easiest ways to get a fairly accurate polar alignment. And also, as I said, I think people just spend too long on polar alignment for the amount of time that they're going to be imaging. Once you've moved the mount, and the software then takes its next image, plate solve image, you'll see here it comes up with an arrow in the direction. Now, if you've done what we did in the settings earlier and you've put in your location, it will help you then, because it's actually going to give you directions on where you should be going with the mount. You do have to remember that some cameras actually image upside down, so you're getting a reverse image on the screen. They don't offer rotation in the software, so therefore you might be following the arrow there, but the adjustment for up might actually be down. It depends on the type of camera that you're using at the time. But what we're basically going to do is adjust the RA and the deck adjustments to try and home in closer. So we're going to bring this square here closer up to the marker. Yeah, the actual style there. And it'll give you a readout here. So it's telling you whether you're fair, and then if you're being more precise with it, as you're getting in closer and closer and closer, it will actually come up to good. Yeah, and it does take a little bit of time. Now, it doesn't matter whether the Polestar is right off of the screen, as long as it's plate solving and it can resolve the stars there. Because as you're adjusting it, the Polestar will come into view, yeah, as you're adjusting it. But really, it's trying to get your mount as close as possible when you first set up. And that's the key. And it was something I was sort of saying, let me just find where we are. There we go. Go back to there. Yeah, it was something I was saying the other day that quite often, I mean, I was imaging the Comet at the weekend and literally put the mount down on the floor and made sure that the mount was perfectly level, and just stood behind it and looked at it and made sure that it was pointing directly at the North Star. And the mount tracked 3 or 4 hours imaging the Comet without moving off, didn't move a beat. So we can really go a little bit too far into our polar aligning process for what we're trying to do. But I think SharpCap probably offers the cheapest and the easiest solution at the moment.
Right. I think that there's two things about polar alignment that people get hooked into. One is keeping the target tracking accurately so that it stays close to the, you get a tiny bit of declination drift, but it does that.
Yeah.
But the other really bigger impact is on go-tos. You'll see that even when you have good polar alignment, over time your go-tos start to go off, and I think that's where people actually want to tweak it in further. That's what you're seeing there, I believe.
Yeah. And I also think with the software these days, as long as your stars are not really elongated in the image, you have to remember that with modern cameras, our imaging times have come down massively over the years. Right. So now a camera like what I had connected just now, average image from that would be 60 seconds. Yeah, for a deep sky object. So any of the galaxies, and we would just take, say, 60 or 120 images from the camera. So our stars are going to stay fairly round, even with a little bit of error on the polar alignment.
Right.
The other things really at the end of the day are looking at the actual setup and just making sure the basics are there, of the mount being level, your stuff being fairly well balanced on the mount. And remember that you might have a guide scope on there and a camera on one side. So some objects might drift very slightly where there's an imbalance in weight on one side of the telescope in one part of the sky. Some mounts were renowned that when you move up into the area of Polaris, if we're after Bodes or M81, somewhere around there, they go into an area of what we call free fall, where there's actually no weight on the motors.
Right.
Then the ASCOM is trying to send the commands through and get the mount to move, and the mount's just sitting there. So sometimes in different mounts, it pays to have them just slightly off balanced in each direction, and that just meshes the gears together. And therefore, when you get to that certain part of the sky, you should still have weight in one direction for each axis.
And miss polar aligning slightly so that you're only driving in one axis or one direction in deck. If you're going to make a correction, you either want to be pushing north, north, north or south, south, south. You don't want to be switching directions here and changing seeing, for example. So.
I mean, I set up the Exos 2 the other night, and it was literally out of the box. So there was no stars to play around with. There wasn't the time. It was literally out of the box and on the floor.
Uh-huh.
And the main thing was the level. Yeah, to make sure that everything is level, and just doing that same thing. And again, it was just point it towards the North Star. Yeah, setting the declination on the side. Yeah, to roughly where I am, and away it went. And you can do this with lots of mounts. And I think, you know, some of the other mounts like advanced VXs, AVX mounts, they might need you to put in something like a little bit of backlash into the controller, so they'll come out set at 0.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and the guiding system will just go mad, and you're going, well, it's all polar aligned. I've been through that routine. I've been through the balancing routine, but all it is it's preset to 0. So it needs a little bit of a kick in one direction. And you might just need to up the backlash in one direction to, say, plus 30. And that will give you then the movement as ASCOM sends a command through from the guide camera, yeah, to actually move the mount, you know, today and not next week. Yeah. Otherwise, you can get a pendulum effect where the command is coming through, yeah, and the scope's got a delay on it, and then ASCOM sending another command through, and it keeps sending them.
Yep.
All of a sudden, the mount starts to take up the slack and starts moving.
Yeah.
And then you've got the pendulum effect where it can't actually lock onto the star, and it just starts drifting off. So, but I do think a lot of people spend too much time on, you know, the errors in like PhD2, yeah, and really a lot of wasted time on polar alignment. I think, you know, people really spend a lot of money and a lot of time on it, and for what they're trying to do, it's not really applicable in a sense. Yeah, I'm always a great believer of the, you know, the night sky is going to close up at some point, either through clouds or, you know, it getting light. I want as much imaging time as possible and not spending time playing around with stuff that doesn't need it.
Right. Right. So, let's see if we have any questions, and let's see if we have an answer for Jerry here. Jerry,
Oh,
what
yeah.
was that question
I forgot
again?
about- What time did I announce the on the forum the new platform was available and my suggestions for what to do with it?
Okay, so Tim,
Is that a UTC time?
That's okay. So that's let's turn that. Well, I don't know if I give you some advantage. I don't know if you can win because you're on the show. Can he win? Can Gary win?
he's won so much already.
I know. So let's make it UTC so that it's a little tougher for people to
Okay.
figure it out.
All right.
So it's the equivalent UTC time, and I've got to figure it out too. I got to look at it and figure it out.
All right. Well, I'll just give you some times that people have put out there. Tim Myers said 3:18 on July 23rd. Nico said 14:39 ? Charles Lewis said 11:42 p.m. Nico said, sorry, 12:16. Tim Myers said, correction, 11:39 a.m. And Nico said 13:41 today. And then Bill Black. By the way,
It's got to be
Bill Black had a
It's got to be
question.
UTC. It's got to be
Yeah.
UTC.
What's that?
It's got to be UTC. I heard a number, but it's got to be converted to UTC.
UTC. Oh, so one of them is right. Okay. Jerry posted about the non-beta final version at 8:39 this morning.
Nope, that's not right. It's not UTC.
And Jenny DeBell Shelley said 11:39 a.m. today. Ulla Drake, Wolfgang said 17:39 German time.
I want Greenwich Mean Time.
Greenwich Mean Time. Is GMT German Mean Time or Greenwich Mean Time? Let's see. Bill Black, I wonder if there was a time zone difference. So I think July 23rd, 2020, 12:39 p.m. UTC.
No. That's not it.
No. Well, you might have made this too hard, man.
Yeah,
Tim Meyer says
maybe.
1439.
No.
Dave says this is a trick question. It's not there.
Ah,
That's right. Jeff Wise says 0518 AM UTC.
nope. Nope.
Charles Lewis says 1539. And Tim says,
That, what'd you
huh?
say? 1539?
1539.
That's a winner chicken dinner.
Really? Wow, okay. There we go. That's good. All right. So, Tim, you just need to send your information to Kent Martz. So that's Kent, Kent, at explorescientific.com. And you will be the winner of this amazing book, Remote Observatories for the Amateur Astronomer. And see, the other part about this is by winning this book, you actually have to build a remote observatory. So if you don't
Right.
have one, so
That's right. That's
that's
a
right.
requirement.
Which kind of leads us into talking about our next subject. Now, with us is Richard Grace. Richard, how are you doing today?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. All right, that's great. So,
Things are going well.
Richard is he is a host of a ham radio show. He obviously does a lot of astronomy. He loves Pink Floyd, and he lives on the East Coast. I think in Annapolis, Maryland. Is that right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. The Pink Floyd posters from my teenage years, actually, but I needed something to throw up over the window because that is south, and it was not working earlier. And a few hours notice, I was like, "What am I gonna?" Well, at least that's got a prism thing. And we were talking about spectrums the other day, and
Oh yeah, that's
but-
right. Yeah, I'm sure Pink Floyd saw a lot of prismatic colors in their days.
Oh, Dark Side of the Moon has a prism on the album cover.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. So, so you know, we've got a good group here to talk about this next project here. And Richard was the first one to reach out to me about a project that we talked about. And Richard's known as Astro Beard to all of you out there in social media land.
Thank you.
But I think somebody commented they were expecting a red beard, you know. So, but so anyhow,
it is red, somewhat.
sort of red. There we go. That's right. That's right. But we started kind of going down the path of talking about what we would do to actually make a virtual star party. And Richard, how long have you been doing astronomy? Are you relatively new to it, or?
Officially, I would say I started in October.
Okay, in
So
October. Okay.
Less than a year in. I got hooked a few years back and never managed to get the equipment. I was camping and I saw 4 moons on Jupiter through a rifle scope, and that kind of got me to, before I went camping last year in October, that I got a little mini Dob and some stuff, and we hooked a cell phone, to it, and managed to see things that were still pretty mind-blowing to us at that particular time, which the horrible focuser on that is what led me to come home from camping and immediately research and purchase one Comet Hunter from Explore Scientific, which has been my go-to scope since, and I love it.
Great.
So
Thank you.
if I can get to show more images to people, it's something that I've been planning on doing anyway. Right, very soon thereafter, I used this same scope to get the transit of Mercury.
Okay.
And I planned on posting that on YouTube before I realized that I was beyond 4K of raw footage and needed to do some learning. That was just right over my head for a minute. So I've been posting, things on Instagram under AstroBeard and a couple other things, just randomly on Discord on some of my friends' servers and stuff like that. but I really want to get further into it, and I go out whenever it's pretty much got a good forecast, and if we have an event planned, I'll go out whatever the forecast is, as long as it's not going to rain,
Okay.
which would be pretty pointless anyway. So yeah, hopefully we can find a few people, and some virtual Star Party just sounds great, and under the Explore Scientific theme.
It'll be fun.
Hopefully,
It'll be fun. So this is kind of what we were talking about. We were talking about maybe having 4 guest astrophotographers. Now, part of the requirement of this is that you would have to be able to have a setup near. You'd have to have internet connection. Okay. You would be joining us on Zoom, so that we could have you on Zoom, and that would allow you to control sharing your screen. Okay, as we're going along. And so we kind of coordinated where we would start with, astrophotographer number one. Astrophotographer number one would show how they're setting up, maybe going through a focus process, getting things going. If we hit a little bit of a lull time, we would jump to astrophotographer number two, let him introduce himself or herself and what they're doing, what their subject is. And let them get further along in their setup. Then number 3 and maybe number 4. I don't know how many I can stack one on top of the other, but then we would do kind of like a round robin, and we would come back to astrophotographer number 1. By that time, maybe they are, finishing up focusing, grabbing the first image, that kind of thing. But the real emphasis of this is for all of you who are learning astrophotography, okay, whether you're rank beginner or you're kind of in the middle somewhere, or you're very advanced, to share your knowledge. And I think the setup part of this is very important, okay, because once you're set up correctly and you're getting nice images, nice raw data coming in, from there, really it's just about gathering as much data as you can, with as much clear sky as you can, and then coming back to process those images. So, so we are, we've got Richard here. He has volunteered to do this with us. And you mentioned that you're pretty flexible with your time. Is that right?
I'm extremely flexible. So anybody else who wants to join this awesome project, it's going to be more up to your time that you can put in. I can fit in however we pretty much need to. Maybe not every day, every single time ever, because, well, the weather. But
Right.
I will give it what I have to give, and I will make time when I need to make time.
Right.
I think it's also great because I am new at this. I might have intermediate level equipment of some sorts, depending on who's looking at it. But I'm still very new to this, so all the little things of, like I said, we were taking pictures with cell phones less than a year ago. So, I think that might help to some of the newer people having a newer perspective. And also having 3 or 4 people will be nice because that gives individual people time to get their processing done, once everything's set up and stuff, because having that couple extra minutes, gives somebody a chance to maybe stack 3 or 4 pictures. And
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Excellent. Maybe we can somehow finagle Gary into sitting in and giving his wisdom on what that team can do to improve their images, their setups, and I'm not sure how often we can run this. I dream about doing it once a week, okay, where after the show, the participants have a week to process their images and get them all ready, and then the next show we would show what they did, okay. We'd show what they did, and they get to comment on it, talk about their processing a little bit, and then we kick off, another 3 or 4 astrophotographers, the same process again and again. So,
Nice.
there may come a point where we have so much work that we do a review of everybody's work, and then just start the whole thing all over again. So I think it would be a lot of fun, so For those of you who are interested that you're listening right now, please send me an email to s@explorescientific.com
S. How's that spelled, Scott?
with an S, okay?
With an S, okay. It's not ES like Explore
No, it's
Scientific.
just an S at explorescientific.com. Dusty Haskins says he loves the idea. I'll listen to the details in a little bit. I have to run and get in touch with who I have to. All right. Sounds like a hoot. I've learned from the people of my observatory DSRL long up to 30-minute exposures. No dark files because the darks collect only chip noise. Okay. All right. What's the expected start and end times? Jenny, we would love to have you be part of this. Let's get the people. Let me get my first 4 down that want to be actually can commit to doing this, and we will sort out the times. We haven't pinned down those times yet, and anytime you have a few people involved, you have to coordinate that so it works for everyone, and we'll do it. I think people will love it.
Yeah, I think one thing that people need to consider, even if you're, we may consider bringing people on, even if their local sky is not the best, we could still talk about their setup.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
it
so
doesn't matter
if we
you're in
get
light
people all
blue
over the country,
skies, dark
right.
skies. It may mean that most of these setups are happening in suburban centers or even in cities because of the internet requirement to do this. Okay, so that would be a requirement. It is not a requirement that you use Explore Scientific equipment. Okay, so this. I know that this show is supported and run by Explore Scientific, but we're interested in astrophotography and astronomy. Okay, so that's the big deal, and most of the processes and techniques are similar. As you go from this setup to that setup, there might be some little difference, but that's not a requirement. And so and the cameras can be of any kind. So with the exception of, I don't know, maybe somebody wants to shoot a film camera. I don't know if anybody does that anymore.
Gonna be hard to share that.
I don't know if anybody wants to put themselves through the pain of doing that anymore. So that was pretty torturous. So, and we will, of course, have Gary join us from time to time, and perhaps some others. Jack Newton would probably participate in this. So it'd be fun to have some of the veterans of high-end astrophotography weigh in on this and kind of mentor people who are starting. So
yeah, I was going to suggest that you maybe talk a little about the Explore Alliance and part of the genesis of this part of this program, where, like you said, we have mentors helping people out with virtual star parties.
Right. Yeah, and that is the mentor program. We talked about this earlier, where Explore Scientific was going to have like an Explore Scientific University. We ended up calling it Mentor because we all had mentors. We all had people that took us under their wing. Some guys didn't have that and came out to be brilliant astronomers, but most of us had someone that guided us along, showed us the ropes, and spent a lot of time trying to help us figure out what we're doing, And so Explore Alliance, with our membership program, is kind of taking this over, and we will be calling it Mentor. And so this show will be really a mentor show. This is the first instance. It's not really the first instance of it. Actually, this OpenGOTO community is kind of the first instance of that. So, but now we're going to take you into the field. We're going to work with real astronomers, and we're going to, if things don't work out, things blow up in the field, then that's part of the experience of it. So
that's how you learn. That's how you learn.
But you'll be on with other people that will help you get through it. And so if you care to join this, please sign up, and If I get more than four in this first go around, we'll look at schedules and then get the first four going, and then have the additional four afterwards. So, but I
Can't be
think,
clear skies everywhere.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And we could do it. We could do, because of the timing and stuff. Maybe we do a European version of this, and we do, a North American version of this. Southern Hemisphere parts could happen, at the same time. So that's cool. You could have Germany and South Africa at the same time, I believe. So. But
I
but
learned
that's it, guys. And Richard, I appreciate you coming on with us. And
no
is that
problem.
image of M51 yours that I see up on the
It
screen?
is. Yeah, it's a little blown up because it's on a 1080 screen. So that one's one of mine.
Awesome.
I'm going to be working at getting better, especially if things are going to get viewed a little bit more. But I've been getting pretty proficient in color alignment, and I learned a lot today about that.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I learned most of everything on YouTube or Twitch recently, and I have never, in all the hobbies that I've ever been in, run across a better community than the astrophotography or astronomy community.
Yeah.
Everyone is so helpful, and I mean, no problems from anyone, and everybody seems like they just want to do it to calm down. So it's just great, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm
That's
Rich
awesome.
Grace, the Astro Beard.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks very much. All right. You guys keep looking up. Gary, thank you for joining us this evening, or this early morning for you now, I guess. What time is it there now?
It's 11 p.m., so it's not
11.
that bad.
Okay. All right. You're just starting to wake up. So, all right. Well, that's excellent. And I know you're working on your latest comet image as well. So,
Yes.
mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll be going through. There's about 20 images to go through over the weekend, so
Okay.
we'll have those out, and hopefully get some more clear skies. That would be nice.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
That's right. And clear skies to all of you, we wish. So take care, and we'll see you tomorrow. Also tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we have Abigail Bolenbach. She's going to be on talking about her show that she puts on astronomy.com. You guys
It's
take
11 o'clock Central Time, right?
Central Time. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. They'll be in the morning. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.